Hobo. You're a dirty, dirty hobo from the wrong side of the tracks, Dirk. It's just, that's what it is. That's
It's
how it is.
how it goes, eh?
Yeah, that's how it goes.
You dirty, dirty hobo from the other side of the tracks. That's good.
Dirk, I would be worried. It sounds like McLeod wants to spank you.
Or maybe he's.
Well, I don't know what you guys do with hobos.
Welcome to Push the Talk, the family show here on INN.
We don't waste time calling them dirty, dirty hobo.
I don't know what you guys do with hobos, but we blow up their structures in syndicates. So
yeah.
And you guys shouldn't really shame on McLeod for being experimental. It's not fair.
Hey, no kink shaming. We've said this before. Push to Talk is a place of no kink shaming.
That's okay. You don't need to, Mass Gamer. You don't need to see my suit clearly. It's just a jacket.
Oh, come on! Of course we do.
It's just a jacket.
You've got to show off.
It's just a
Eric.
jacket.
Come on.
I'm wearing a t-shirt underneath it. Why?
No
Just a
one
green
cares.
jacket.
I mean that's business casual, right?
Green jacket.
Business casual. Hold it.
Yeah.
Business casual in the land of
business
casual needs a shirt.
Business casual in the 80s, maybe that. Business casual nowadays can mean practically fucking anything.
Business casual now means you're just wearing your boxer shorts, a t-shirt, and bunny slippers. Okay.
A pair of chaps with no.
Right now, yeah.
It's the bunny slippers that makes it work. I mean,
It's true.
Bunny slippers
I was impressed because I know
casual.
Eric's a golfer, but I had no idea he won the Masters. So
I did.
I know, right?
This is my.
And he's humble about it too.
Actually, I would wear this to work every week. The Masters started up when we actually went into offices. This also, we're all golf today. This is my Oakmont hat. So yeah, where they have.
You're wearing outrageously loud pants too.
No. But here's a funny thing. So we were talking about how my wife sells things on eBay and stuff. She sold, what was it, loudmouth golf shorts today. She was like, I sold the loudmouth golf shorts. She didn't even know what they were until I told her.
Really?
Yeah. My wife does not golf. Okay, my wife. My wife.
My wife is the big golfer. Excuse me. My wife is the big golfer in the family. So I don't know anything about golf. I'm horrible at it. I go out there and I look like a schmuck, but she's really good. So I give her. She's the one in the family that likes to go golfing and takes our son golfing. To me, a golf is it's a nice walk spoiled.
See, I subscribe to that as well. Golf really is a nice walk.
I'm looking to see if I have that book over here. No, I just have A Golfer's Life. Up
there you go. That's a good.
Right next to the because we had the Palmer conversation, right? So yeah, I got all the Palmer stuff over there, along with my hole-in-one ball and my trophy from winning our flight in the member guest tournament one year. Not good golfer, bad golfer, terrible golfer.
Theodore and I still have not left my house. The last time I left my house was March 12th, so we're still on lockdown in Virginia.
I leave my house almost every day, and I don't care. And we turned yellow. We turned yellow yesterday. We're a yellow county.
There you go.
What does that mean?
It means they're chicken.
It means different things by state, right? So I'm in Pennsylvania, so the counties that are yellow, certain businesses are now allowed to open up, and then when you go green, you're green. So, Philadelphia and that area, they're all still red, but we're not.
West Virginia is not a state. It is occupied Virginia.
Occupied.
We'll get there.
So, yeah. Country roads.
We'll come around.
Does leaving 1DQ qualify as leaving home?
What do you mean?
West Virginia.
These days, yes.
I thought everything is Ohio.
Oh, that's
That's
next
right.
door.
I saw that picture. Everything is Ohio.
Yeah.
That's a good meme.
Ohio doesn't even want to be Ohio.
Ohio.
I really have to
So
dig
how
up
you guys
the
doing?
picture.
Thanks for having me on. This is it's a nice change. Instead of me being in the shower last week, I'm actually on the show this time. This is
There
nice.
you go. Well,
I'm
we didn't show
kind of
the shower
concerned that-
picture. You know.
I was hoping we were going to get
didn't
shower
actually
cam,
show
but we
it.
didn't.
No shower.
I'm just kind of concerned that Brisk may have skipped the shower. Like,
No. I moved my schedule on my Saturday open comms, post open comms, pre-meta show schedule up by 2 hours so that I could do everything I needed to do. and
Oh,
then
we
get
so
in the shower and
appreciate
get
that.
ready for the show. So there you go. So I get to join.
So
you
now
guys.
it's all
Get on
pre-open
here.
comms.
Well, it's post open comms, pre-meta show.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
guys are part
okay.
of my show prep for a meta show.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
We should just We should change our name to the pre-post show.
There
Yeah, there you go.
The pre-meta show. That's it. Push
Post
to pre-meta
pre-show,
show.
post pre-show, or pre-post show.
Premeditated show?
There you go.
There is
I like it.
nothing in the show.
Well, I
that
didn't
is
say that'd be
premeditated.
accurate.
Yeah.
post meditated, perhaps, but
Warren
Actually,
County.
to answer Vass's question, no, I'll tell you the one thing that I think all of us find with the lockdown and the Rona and all this other kind of crap is I have so much more free time than I ever had before. I don't have to commute. I'm not worried about I have times in between calls when I can go do whatever I need to do. I got all this free time. I'm showering like twice a day just to kill time and stand and like read a book because I'll stand there and read a book in the shower because I'm weird. So I take
Hold
like
on,
2
you-
showers
hold
a day
on.
every day
Let's-
now.
I'm
You
concerned that you
stand
have
in
to
the
keep
shower
books
and
into
read a book.
Wet area.
So you guys saw that when I took that picture, you guys saw the top of my head. I put my iPad like catty corner on the top of the shower stall, and then I just stand there and I let the water hit me and I read. And that's what I do. Or
I'm
type
not
in-
sure I-
And then he
talk
asks,
to you guys.
You
So,
do that twice
so what?
a day,
So what
and you
you're
don't
really?
get a stiff neck.
You know what? It's funny because I will say that my back does sometimes hurt after I get out of the shower. So I have to. That's how I limit it. But you got the water. It's hot water coming on you. It helps relax the muscles.
So
That's good.
So I'm thinking about this, and I'm hoping that you never accidentally press the FaceTime button, right? I mean, that would.
It's kind of
Do you
scary
ask Siri?
because my kid's iPad and my iPad are linked because I'm the NSA and I want to see what he's doing all the time.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So when his
Okay.
friends will call to FaceTime him to go play games together, and it shows up on my iPad. And there's been at least more than one occasion where I've had to stop myself from pressing because I didn't see who it was and realized, all right, they don't need to see my face, even
In
if
the
I'm not
shower.
in the shower. It just would be weird.
hello.
I would just like to take this opportunity
Oh, that'd be so
to
funny.
point out that we have now expanded the government conspiracy. Goonswarm is the CIA, and it is apparently the
Now
NSA.
we're the NSA too.
Hold on.
Yeah, there we go.
Gotta
we
get Glenn
were
Beck to talk about that.
Goonswarm was a CIA front
Right, we're the
a
CIA,
long time
and
ago, according to a
Right.
certain radio personnel. TV
right,
personnel.
exactly. We're the CIA, and Brisk has just established that the initiative is the NSA.
There you
Okay,
go.
that's excellent.
Why not? Brisk is the NSA. Like, we all know that Brisk is really just a Karma Fleet member in disguise.
Hey, as part of the deep state, conspiracy, according to Twitter, and that they've actually called me that, even though I haven't been in government for 5 years. Yeah.
That just makes you more deep state, dude. That's all that
Exactly.
means.
I'm so burrowed in, I'm not even in anymore. You can't even
Plausible
tell I'm
deniability.
in.
You're so deep, you've gone all the way to China.
That's it.
See?
That's it.
That didn't really help the conspiracy theory horrendous.
Wasn't supposed to.
I know.
Help a conspiracy theory in this show. Like, really?
There's
I'll
no
tell you the
conspiracy.
one
We don't
thing-
have theories.
I'm
don't
actually
help
nervous the next
conspiracy
time I
theory.
end up going back into government because if I have to fill out a top secret clearance form, the amount of freaking people that are foreign nationals that I'm friends with now because of Eve that I'm going to have to list and deal with is going to be crazy.
Mothra, so.
Yeah, I can just see it now.
I'm probably the
Mr.
only
Brisk.
one here, besides Brisk, that
That's
has clearance. So
Like,
gonna be
it'd
bad.
be like, who's this Sothrasil that you know? Is this a code name?
Who is this guy? Well,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't really
good.
know what his name is.
He's an angry
I just know
German.
I know what his gamer tag is. Is that enough for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a weird conversation.
So is it a pseudonym? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's an alias.
It's a nom de guerre.
Oh, even better.
Fair.
Bring out
Ooh,
the
fair.
French
Yeah,
words for it.
fair.
Yeah, for sure.
Hold it. I gotta pull out like the pocket thesaurus. Jesus Christ. No, just kidding. Hopefully,
See,
it's
now
not.
mine
You know,
are
I
saying
better
that-
mute
that-
my phone
that's
because that could.
a nightmare. I'm worried about that. So, but we'll see.
Nah, it'll be fine.
Maybe I don't have to worry about
Nobody cares. You know, just
Right.
just make sure you don't get hit with that Logan Act thing. Okay, just be careful. Okay?
I'm okay.
Talking to all those people.
I don't do bad stuff. I don't go lobby foreign governments on behalf of the United States when I'm not in the government.
No, that's okay. Those charges get dropped these days.
Stragak, I'm not invading all of the Imperium news shows. I am campaigning. It is campaign season,
Yeah. It's
so
all
I
campaign.
have
Actually-
to do the shows.
Just
let
me be
just
clear.
because the
Whoa, whoa,
initiative
whoa, whoa,
is a representing now in all top 3 of the 3 top talk shows. That doesn't mean anything.
No. All right. Brisk has always been welcome here, and Brisk is officially endorsed. He's the only CSM candidate to be endorsed by the Push
right.
Talk Show as yet. Brisk
I'll take
is
it.
always welcome here.
Well, we will obviously.
Which
endorse-
actually raises an interesting question. Brisk, do you think you'll be endorsed by the
you cut
By
out
the-
there by the what?
Meta show? At least
I
half
hope
of it?
so.
No.
I mean, I would like to think that both of the co-hosts would be fine with endorsing me. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. But
Do you
Gareth
think
needs
either
to-
of them
Gareth
will
needs
support you?
to- Gareth
technically,
needs to figure out the list.
didn't we beat the Meta Show in endorsing Brisk?
We have.
Well, yeah.
Is-
'cause we
is-
haven't done it. This-
I
mean,
just wanna
hey,
ask.
you know what? The Meta Show, we are an arm of the state, and therefore, whatever the state decides will be how people are directed to vote. But I'm hoping that I will be again on the Imperium ballot like I was last time.
I really just want to ask, is there an antitrust violation in one of the co-hosts of the Meta Show endorsing Brisk as a CSM candidate?
Well, not if it's me, right? Then it'd be okay, because I'm just endorsing myself. So there you go. I think that's
That's
fair.
fair.
Of course, he has to
That's-
end every Meta Show with I'm Brisk Ball and I endorse this message.
I approve this message.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I approve this message.
So,
No,
but
it would be
actually,
I approve this meta.
to be honest with everybody, we would have Brisk here even if he wasn't running for the CSM because we just like nice people on the show. So yeah, that's
I always find that such a strange sentence that
What?
politicians or that candidates use in America, because we never use it here. Like over in
I'm
the
this
UK.
person
Well,
and I approve this
approve-
message. That's
yeah,
because
I-
it's worthless.
So they do that. They do that because there are all kinds of ads that can be taken out by third parties, and they can be for or against a candidate. So what a lot of candidates would do is they would have these third-party groups do the really nasty, mean attack ads against the other candidate, and then when they get accused of being behind it, they say, "Hey, it wasn't my ad. I didn't do it."
I didn't endorse
So that way, you know which ads are coming from the candidate because they have to say, "I approve this message." So if they do a nasty ad and it has the approval
okay.
line in it, then you know it's them.
So
It's not
really,
third party.
McLeod,
So yeah, yeah.
we should have this to stop the conservatives
No, no,
using dirty fucking customized ads on Facebook.
Brisk, didn't
Yeah,
that
but
start
they're
with-
not like video ads. We don't have video attack ads in the UK because we just don't. I don't know. It's just we don't do it. I think there's probably some like libel kind of law or something like that. Basically, means that if you do bring out an attack ad, that in a particular way, like it's you basically get shut down. But like we don't. I don't think we have that because we don't need that because our law kind of like restricts that from happening. But
Well, that's the whole point of it is so the candidates can make clear this is what I'm saying. If it doesn't have this message on it, it's not me. Don't blame me.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Because there's also laws that say you can't coordinate. And Brisk, didn't the I'm X and I approve this message start with McCain in 2000? Wasn't he the first one to throw that up there?
I can't
Because
remember.
he was busy chomping on Bush over a lot of Bush's attack ads.
he was
It might-
chomping
it
on
might have
Bush.
Third
been- it
party.
might have been added to McCain-Feingold. I can't remember when it came out. It's become such a thing that it just is. It's kind of faded into the background. Right? Everybody has to do this, like the old,
It's
the
just
old paid
expected
for and
now.
approved by, statements and marks and stuff on every
Yeah.
piece of literature and commercial.
Yeah.
I have to go back and look and see when it was, but that makes sense. It sounds like something McCain would want.
I think somebody really needs to clip that last sentence by Arendis.
Oh, we can do. Yeah, go for it.
Man's dead. Don't do that. Jesus Christ.
All right, campaign video. You guys, chat's
We
asking about
you have been
campaign
waiting
video.
for that.
All right,
yeah.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
All
We
right.
know
I
it's we know
started-
it's really difficult with the lockdown
Work-
and everything.
This is the very hardest part because without being able to leave the house, I'm limited in the stuff that I can do. So things like I can't go do stand-up shots at the White House like I did last time, or stand-up shots at the Capitol, or stand-up shots at the Supreme Court. Plus, I already did that, so everybody knows. I mean, that kind of shtick is worn out. So I'm trying to come up with some fun stuff. I have some things planned. Our shooting day is going to be next Saturday, as long as the weather holds up. And I'm hoping that I will have something in the can, ready to go for everybody to by the middle of next week. That's the goal. Not this coming week, but the week after.
So does
You know,
that mean that
I-
you won't be here next week because you'll be shooting?
That's
A
good
video.
question. I will be. I have to do the meta show. It's a question of when we do all the shooting, and I
Right.
prefer doing my shooting kind of at the dusk time period because the light's better. But it also depends on the weather and a bunch of other stuff. So we'll see what I end up doing. But there will be a campaign video. I've shot some of the footage already. I've done some of the voiceover. We will get it done. It will happen. It's just we got to make. I got a lot of props and stuff that are coming that I need to get finally to arrive, so that we can do it the way I want to do it, and there. So it's just it'll happen. Don't worry. There'll be a commercial.
See,
It'll fun
I'd be
too.
I'd be tempted to sort of say like, oh, you need to up your green screen game. Then you can be anywhere at any time.
Right. But it's
but
not as real if you do it.
I know,
that way. So
but that's what I was
wanna
going
make
to say.
I
Like you like your realism. You like it to be genuine.
Exactly. Now I had toyed with the idea of, since apparently making half an hour long documentaries gets people elected, I was toying with the idea of doing that, and I started working on one, and it was pretty good, but it just wasn't going where I wanted it to go. So maybe I'll do that as as a joke project down the road, something fun to do in my free time. But it's not gonna be
I know what you need to do though, Brisk. Like even though you once you've done the keep it secret, keep what you're actually doing in the video secret, obviously, because everybody likes to have that reveal and all that kind of thing, and not have it spoiled. But if there's time and if you're willing to do it, I'm fairly certain everybody would enjoy a nice outtake kind of blooper reel. Would be great.
See, no, that's something we could do. I have to figure that out.
So, Brisk, while we're on the subject of your campaign video endorsement statements and the people that you know now totally fucking up any chance of you actually getting back into politics, have you considered trying to get Snowden to endorse you?
Oh God, no, that would be bad.
That
would not go down well.
It's honestly funny because I was talking to one of my real life political buddies, and he and I had been toying with the idea of a real campaign next year, and he was like, "If you haven't started, you have all this free time. If you haven't started working on your campaign yet, you're wasting your time." I'm like, "Well, I'm working on a campaign, just not that."
He's
So
like,
he
"What
busted my nuts
campaign?"
about that for a while too, so that was funny.
Oh, nice.
We'll see.
That's funny.
You never know what happens.
I can't wait to see the video. Very excited.
I'm looking for if it comes out the way that I want it to come out, it should be pretty good, and it'll be a good follow up to the last one.
I can't believe that you guys really haven't left your house.
My wife has, because she has. I mean, here's the thing: my son and I can stay home because his school's closed, so he's doing all of his stuff distance learning. Congress is out of session. I'm doing all of my stuff on Zoom. All of my calls and emails and things like that I do on Zoom video now, and I've done a ton of work. And I'm working pretty constantly, but I don't have to physically go anywhere. My wife is in PR. She does crisis communications, among other things, and she's doing crisis comms for the biggest hospital system in Northern Virginia. So she has to be physically present with the CEO and with the top doctors and everybody, and coordinating, getting them on camera and doing videos and all kinds of stuff like that. So she's the only one that leaves the house.
Gotcha.
So that's it, which is nice. because that well, at least two of us are relatively, safe away from the Rona. But I worry about her going out all the time. But she's a pro, and she's got a bunch of people that are healthcare professionals advising her on what to do and everything. So I give her credit. But I think Happy Mother's Day, if she's watching, by the way, for tomorrow. And thank you for everything you do for us, Mrs. Brisk.
So what you're saying is, she doesn't wear glasses when she's out there.
Oh, she wears everything. She's got her mask. She's got all the stuff she needs to do. She's good.
I've genuinely considered getting a secondary air tank, that divers have, to go out,
So you don't have to breathe the air other people.
Yeah, it's
have.
no, I'm not even going to breathe the air that's around. I shall take my own air with me. Thank you very much.
McLeod and the scuba tanks.
Yeah.
I've actually, I used to scuba dive before I moved to Cambridge and had nowhere nearby to do that. So I've actually got one of those stashed at my mother's at the minute.
There you go.
Wow, cool.
I don't have a compressor for it, and that's kind of a thing as well, because you've got to have a specific compressor setup so that you're not getting, oil residues and stuff getting into your gas mix.
Gotcha.
But, it's not a horrendously terrible idea.
Yeah. I don't know. I was there thinking to myself, how difficult would that be? It's not a massive issue. So long as you have either a compressor or a pump of some form. Some of the secondary air tanks that you can buy actually come with their own manual pump that you can use. But
the other thing
heavy,
as well,
isn't that thing heavy? You're gonna want to carry that around on your back for hours at a time.
Yeah, it can get kind of heavy, but you're talking if you're only talking about a 10-liter tank or something, then it's not too awful.
Yeah, if it's it's marginally heavy, then think about it this way: you get your exercise out in there as well, and what's worse, something quite heavy or you dying.
Strygak's got a very good point. Just get a walker or a trundle.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You just get exactly. You can just ride around in one of those little scooters, and then you don't have to worry about it because then you're not walking. So there you go. Jim. Jimmy asked if there's a fireside today. As far as I know, there's a fireside today. But the meta show today will be a fireside edition. We're going to do just a relaxed chat. Me, Mittens, Jay Amazingness, our producer, and we're going to have Billy on again because he might as well be part of the show. He's been on enough in the last 3 weeks. But we like talking to Billy, so we're going to have him on. So hopefully the fireside itself won't last too long, so I can get all the camera set up.
I like when Billy goes off on somebody for being stupid.
Did you just call it a virus side?
It's the fireside. We call the relaxed meta show, and I have all my stuff set up. It's called the casual meta show in my OBS, but we call it the fireside edition. So, but hey, between me growing the Rona beard and Mittens just getting back from vacation, so this will be the first show he's back in 2 weeks.
Help me understand.
It's going to be interesting.
We're under lockdown. Where the hell?
Oh, so you mean the fireside will actually not be a pre-seed fireside?
It won't be a 15-minute fireside.
Yeah.
He rented a cabin out in the middle of nowhere where there's no people.
Which I think is a great idea. We should have done that.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Get the hell away from everything.
We're deciding what we're going to do with our vacation because normally we go in July and we're like, do we go or do we save those weeks for some other time?
I'm amazed you haven't cancelled it already, to be honest, Eric.
So we have certain kinds of timeshares where we can move around some stuff. So I have probably another 2 weeks before I have to decide what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
so we can put it in the bank and go more weeks or upgrade the following year. One of those things. So I paid it off.
Vegas. Are you guys? Are we all going to Vegas still? I guess. I mean, it's October.
Didn't Vegas just reopen?
Vegas is a question at the minute. So here's a thing, actually, official-ish Vegas update. For those of you who were already going to be going to Vegas, I've just dropped a link in Twitch chat. There'll be some stuff coming out over Twitter in the next few hours or so. But basically, we're doing an interest check. So there is a Vegas tickets Eventbrite page. It costs absolutely zero to sign up. It's just an interest check of if you were already planning on going to Vegas, go ahead and like get a ticket for that. If you are also willing to continue going to Vegas in its October time slot, so the original time slot, if you're still willing to do that, get a ticket.
I would say that we have just broken our own cardinal rule
So
What?
of talking about Eve in the first half hour of the show.
this
Oh, yeah,
isn't
We got
Eve.
2 minutes.
This isn't Eve. This is real life stuff. This isn't
It's all
Eve.
right. It's fine.
Okay,
It's fine.
okay, so-
I'm just taking the piss.
So help me
So-
understand here. Make sure I'm straight.
Right.
I'm supposed to click on this tickets link
If you have a ticket already,
And you're going.
and you're still willing to go in October on the original dates.
Okay.
During the second or third wave of the virus, when it's far worse.
So this is not
So-
to go and buy a ticket right now.
Absolutely not. This is an interest check for people who are already going because we're trying to get numbers and figure out whether or not we should continue to go ahead or if we should look at other arrangements.
Gotcha.
Wait, Randus, you're expecting your country to come out of the first wave by October?
Yeah, I'm expecting there'll be enough of a dip between July and August just because of the way
You mean-
just because of the way the respiratory system.
You mean you're expecting the authorities to stop counting for long enough that we can call it a second wave?
And just
They
so
only want
just so
it's
everybody
like
knows,
25th or 26th, right? It's like the third week. 23rd, 24th. Okay.
and just so
So, yeah.
everybody knows, you know, this isn't a CCP sanctioned event. Like this is, as far as I know, this is
Completely player
this is a
run.
completely player run, which means it's going to be so much better.
Like, this is completely player run. This is like our reboot of Eve Vegas, following obviously CCP's great parties and stuff over the last 5 years now. They decided to go in a different direction this year with the North American stuff. So Eve Vegas is coming back to the players, but
It's like a reverse hit by bus thing.
kind of. Anyway,
Weird way of looking at it. All right.
just to reiterate, if you have already got a ticket or tickets for Eve Vegas 2020 on the 23rd and 24th of October, and you are still willing to go to Eve Vegas on the 23rd and 24th of October, get one of the interest check tickets as linked in Stream Chat. Otherwise, don't pick one up. This is us trying to figure out how many people will actually be going if we were to continue to run it, given the whole coronavirus scenario. We appreciate there are a number of people who will be wanting to stay at home still come October. So this is just us trying to figure out where we're at.
So what happens if perhaps we didn't buy a ticket yet, but we are planning to?
Then don't click on it.
Don't buy a ticket in the interest check one.
Right.
If you don't have a ticket, don't get an interest check ticket.
I gotta figure out if I
where
bought a
would
ticket.
we
I think I
go
did. I can't
to
remember.
buy those tickets now if we wanted to?
We are currently not necessarily recommending that you purchase a ticket right now, because obviously this interest check is part of our figuring out what to do in the face of the coronavirus situation that has been ongoing.
I was thinking maybe you were going to have a little survey. I didn't buy a ticket, but I want to buy a ticket and still go. That would be me.
That will be coming, I would think, once we figure out what our existing ticket holders are looking at.
Okay.
All right.
Important safety tip.
Yeah, important safety tip. Don't buy a full ticket just yet. Things may be changing. Things may not be changing. We're just trying to figure things out. Obviously, the whole Vegas situation, especially with the fact that the Vegas Strip isn't actually part of the city of Las Vegas, is a whole weird thing that we are navigating right now. And
Isn't
We will
Vegas
give you
open?
updates as we can.
Isn't Vegas open as of yesterday?
Not the Strip,
Really?
because the Strip
Because it's not
doesn't.
Vegas.
Yeah,
Oh.
the Strip is Clark County. It's not actually the city of Las Vegas.
Interesting.
So it's a
That's
whole weird thing.
strange situation.
A
It's
whole
really
weird thing. This is what we're trying to navigate and figure out.
It's like Disney is its own county in Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
That's strange.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
That really is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. All those Disney
Like
princesses voting, you know.
They're looking at the Vatican and kind of going, "Oh, we really need that.
Yeah.
We really need that kind of thing
They-
going on."
Yes.
This is Florida's first step towards secession. We have to establish our own fucking nation state within the state.
Hey, you know,
Yeah.
Goofy's mayor, so, you know. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I thought
I'd be fine with Florida.
here's a strange thing. Normally, I'm a big. I watch the news. I listen to the news on the radio during the day when I work from home and everything. But since we've been kind of shut in, I don't. It's weird. So I heard like Vegas is open.
Here's the news.
What?
Here's the news. Ready? People died. There
I
you
know
go.
that
That's
much.
the news.
I know that much.
Well, you don't need to keep up on the news right now.
Yeah. Still not the leading cause of death in the first 3 months in the U.S., though. Oh, did I shock you?
Also, apparently, it does, in fact, do horrible things to children.
I'm sure it does. Yeah. So it's a terrible situation, but hopefully it all gets worked out, right? So
Time is a great healer, to some degree, anyway.
yeah, except on this
Let's
show.
hope the next 5 months make it possible for us to go back and do the fun stuff that we like to do,
Yeah.
like going to Vegas.
The interesting
Oh, yeah.
thing, you know, about my vacation, this was really interesting. When I called in to figure out what I could do, what my options were, you know, they said, well, where you're at, there's no open weeks if you wanted to move your week earlier or later. And that's June, July, and August. I couldn't, like, move even into June. Nobody has given up their time. It's weird.
That's weird. I guess everybody seems to, maybe
Summer.
everybody seems to think that they're gonna get out of the house in June. I don't know.
I don't know.
We
Could
shall
be that
see.
most of us have already paid for our units, right? So you don't.
Well, that's the
doesn't
other
cost
thing.
me
You already
anything.
paid, so they don't care. They got
Well-
you got your money. So
Well, I mean, maybe it's because there's some orange dude spouting about that it's going to go away on its own in some day.
of course,
No.
of course,
No,
that couldn't possibly be it. Though.
I think it's technically a color of brown, not orange. Just looks orange on the. Okay.
Well-
It's a little orangey on TV.
Yeah.
I'm
They got
not.
to work on the color balance.
I love that.
I'm
it
not
looks
sure we
like
can
an
really. Is brown really a color?
Every color's a color. The only color that's not is black.
White's not a color. White is all colors.
True. And black, is the absence of color.
There you go.
Yeah,
Brown.
Exactly.
Strictly brown's a
I
dark.
remember art class when I was in high school. They taught us that shit. So, do we want to talk about any Eve stuff? We're in the second half.
Sure,
of the
we
show?
had like extended downtime.
Let's-
I was
Does
literally
anybody
going
notice?
to
I
your.
didn't notice.
Want is a strong word there.
I'm hoping that the
Extended downtime seems to have been weird.
fixed whatever was going on with the servers. Because I'll tell you,
Like
yesterday was awful.
the entire point of the extended downtime, as I understand it, is that they were improving a bunch of their DDoS mitigation stuff in that sort of sense. Because obviously, since everyone's been at home, these video games have been a lot more in the news. DDoS attacks on known names are a lot more common. So they were trying to improve some of their mitigation stuff, is my understanding. And so I guess only time will really tell, but hopefully these things are
Can I-
going to improve.
Can I ask
I
something?
mean,
Last
they
night
did say
was
they
pretty
did
bad.
say that DDoS have been a thing the whole time. It's just that we didn't have the like really big attacks that recently. Up until
And it's
like, a
also about
week ago.
effectiveness as well. Like, you know, initially when DDoSes do occur, like their effectiveness is obviously, you know, substantially more. But, you know, as you as those attacks carry on, the mitigation starts to actually kick in. So those things start to actually, become less and less effective.
Can I ask a stupid question? Why does CCP deal with DDoS at all?
Well,
there's a reason I'm asking that question, right?
They have outside mitigation. It's not just them.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's honestly that was one of the big questions that I had last time.
Yeah.
When we were knocked out for like 2 weeks, because I live in Virginia. You guys know where I live. I'm like 10 minutes away from almost all of the major server farms for the internet on the East Coast. Like the Silicon Valley of the East is my town, my area. So I couldn't get on. I had to VPN into London to even get in. I mean, it's from Roanoke up to Reston, and I'm right near Reston, and that's maybe 10, 15 minutes from my house. So I have to VPN into London in order to get around I thought I couldn't tell if it was a DDoS or if it was a mitigation because I was too close and I literally could not log into the game. I had to use the VPN. So that's when I can tell when stuff's bad. Now this time with the DDoS, I could log in, but just everything didn't work. Chat wasn't working. Everything was wonky. And yesterday, just the tie-dye in some areas where typically there's not a lot of tie-dye was just pretty bad. We were going down to low sec from Fountain. And yes, there were 600 goons in some of the systems, and we had 200 people on our fleet. So yeah, there was about 800 or so people. But since the 64-bit client, I haven't had problems getting kicked off. But I had a lot of trouble with lag, and the tie-dye got to be pretty bad in places, even when we weren't even when the two fleets were not together. So I'm hoping that maybe that was just part of the mitigation, and they fixed that today. Because man, we did a couple structure bashes last night, and it was not fun.
Well, you can have the tie-dye from another system influence your system if you're on the same physical, like your virtual.
That's what I'm thinking is that the clusters were all together, and because of that, there was a ton of players in one spot, and that made it bad. But
yeah,
I'm hoping that's all it was, and it wasn't anything.
Well, you also mentioned one of the most important things about mitigation related to DDoS attacks, right? Sometimes the cure is worse than the disease, because if you're in an area where a lot of that DDoS is coming from, your IP sets could be excluded from access, right?
Right. And that's the hard part. It's trying to figure out what's good traffic and what's not. And unfortunately, and sometimes you're going to get caught up in the bad traffic, and that's not good. That's not good for anybody.
But yeah, that was always my thing, right? Why do they care? Because I've never worked at a company that actually cares about the DDoS mitigation, right? Large companies, they don't do their own DDoS mitigation.
Eric, the problem is that one of the ways to fight against DDoS, to have your servers in different places, right?
Right.
And to have caches in different places. And they can't do that with Eve because we're all playing on the same shard.
There's also an issue of the fact that the Eve servers is a very, very specialized and very unique kind of configuration. So
didn't they play with the IO stack a little bit in Eve on their
almost
servers?
certainly.
I think they. I don't know for sure.
They've probably played about with anything and everything they can think of, just to try and optimize anything that might help. But as we say, beyond our experience in the next week or two, there's nothing really we can say about the update that they ran yesterday, and until we see the effects.
By the way, Screaming PC, there's no way that I would ever quantify Eve servers as a supercomputer. No. No.
Well, I mean, maybe compared to some of the supercomputers nowadays, probably not. But CCP
they've never had a
10 years ago.
10 years ago,
the parallel computing that they were running on their interconnected server shards was pretty impressive.
Number one, they're not parallelized. Okay, they are not parallelized computers.
there's a degree of parallelization going on. It doesn't go all the way down to the actual simulation level. The simulation level is where it kind of stops.
I wouldn't
like
quantify
it
any of their
paralyze
setups equal to any of the large supercomputer Linux farms that are out there right now. Not even close. They're just they're just a converged VMware system. That's all they are. They certainly aren't anything like the Crays or the connection machines or anything like the future or the past, right? They're just not a supercomputing environment. It's not the same. No. I mean, their environment, you're not going to drive actually parallelized code across their environment and actually generate supercomputing results. Soth, who are we talking about? Who you asking? Are we sure about me or
are we sure that there are no privately owned supercomputers?
Nobody is sure that there are no privately owned supercomputers.
There was a
That's
time.
kind of
Somebody has it. They don't have to tell anybody.
There was
that's kind of the wonder of privately owning something, right?
Let's put it this way: there once was a time when I could tell you exactly how many of the new Cray supercomputers were not privately held.
We're not, but you couldn't tell them how many were.
I couldn't tell you where they were, but I could tell you how many went to the federal government. Because I was with a company that was under contract to always have the first privately owned Cray available to them.
And they always seem to go to this little town in Maryland called Columbia.
I have no idea where they went. But I just know that we got the first serial number, and the serial numbers were sequential on them. Right, so there was one time when we got 007 for a new Cray.
Are we circling back to the Goons R thing?
Yes, we're back.
Let's go back. Yeah. Sorry.
Nice.
This is well before by the way, this time period is well before Eve even existed. But yes, so I have pretty heavy background in
Speaking
supercomputing.
of well before Eve even existed, there are a lot of people who are not going to remember a time before Eve existed because we just turned 17.
I know.
That's pretty cool.
That
is amazing.
In a few years' time, Eve will be be old enough that when Eve kind of starts to sort of stutter and go weird, we'll be able to literally tweet like, "Go home, Eve, you're drunk."
Exactly.
Eve has already been old enough to drink for a year in Germany, so.
Oh yeah, I know
as long as your parents are there, right?
No. Beer and wine.
I thought it was 16 if your parents are present.
No. Beer and wine.
That's the UK.
Really?
That's the UK, bro.
That's the UK. All right. Okay.
In Germany, it's 16 to drink real alcohol, and for beer, you get issued one every week after your first birthday.
But yeah, here in the UK, if you're in a public place like a restaurant or whatever, and you're having a meal, you can have a couple of glasses with your meal. That's as long as you're with somebody over the age of. Yeah. But yeah, once it hits 18, all cylinders are firing.
Yep.
There you go.
Go out, order 100 shots of Sambuca if you want. Like once you hit 18.
We'll have the servers fueled on POS fuel in no time, McLeod.
POS fuel.
You lost me at Sambuca because that is like the grossest shit under the sun.
Oh no, go away.
Like mezcal
Sambuca
is better.
Lovely.
Lovely.
The only way you increase the only way you increase that is a flaming Sambuca. Well, that's it.
A flaming Sambuca.
Flaming Sambuca.
Yeah, that's just fun.
It just, I actually like the taste of licorice and black licorice and all that stuff. I like it. I just don't like to drink it as a beverage.
That's interesting because
you don't sip it.
I don't like the taste of licorice generally.
Interesting.
But I do like Sambuca.
Which tastes exactly like black licorice.
Well,
exactly.
for me, I don't drink the Sambuca. My wife is Greek Cypriot, so it's Ouzo we would drink anyway, and it's the same thing. Basically.
Yeah,
Ouzo's quite nice.
Yeah.
I'm not an Ouzo fan.
But to bring this back to Eve,
we have to.
What? No, we don't have to. I want to tell you about some weird behavior that we had in my core. Our corporation bookmark folder vanished.
Oops.
Like it's gone.
gone
no,
and didn't come back?
No, there's only a handful of people who have the rights to delete, and only one of them actually logs in. That's Apple Pair, by the way. And he definitely didn't delete. Like it's gone.
Have you submitted a ticket?
Yes, of course. The logs show nothing.
Wow, what a shock!
I know, right?
But you do realize that, like, there is actually a note on the wall of the, GM department that actually says the logs do show something. I remember it from the video, and I was like, really?
Wait, let's see if I can find this exact quote.
Yeah.
I like it.
Be right back. Soth is going to take a while to find this quote now.
Yes.
So we might as well carry on.
You might as well carry on. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I found it.
Oh,
the logs don't show the real value. Those are just representative values.
That. Sorry, what?
So so they're in the business of representative lobbying. They're representatives.
Well, I mean, we've got the perfect person on the show for that, then, don't we?
Who? McLeod? Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely, McLeod is the perfect representative lobbyist.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? Is Brisk running for the CSM?
No, that's just a rumor.
No, just a rumor.
Why would I be wearing
Just
a
a
suit on Push to Talk on a Saturday afternoon if I was running for CSM? I'd be doing something more constructive.
I was more interested in seeing your afternoon
showering.
PJs. But yeah,
I mean, why would we have a poster saying hope,
exactly?
like,
why would we
hope.
have that poster if I was running? Hope.
We just hope that he'll be running.
I was just filling dead time while Soth did his lookup. That's all.
You know,
Can I
wish.
vent for a second? I'm going to vent for a second.
Oh, absolutely. Go right ahead.
But all you want.
So they changed the process so that in order to run, you have to fill out all this paperwork, which we had to do before, and then you have to put up a forum post talking about your Eve story and why you're running and what people can expect from you and what your areas of expertise are. And I thought that was a great idea because, one of the biggest things that I'm concerned about is the fact that a lot of these folks don't campaign, and we'd have so many people that would go out, they put their name on the ballot, and then they just think that somehow they're going to suddenly win by acclamation. Like, oh, I'm running, so everyone's going to vote for me. This is going to be great. And they don't campaign. They don't do videos. They don't put forum posts up. They don't go to Reddit. They don't do AMAs or any kind of stuff.
They just you have an advantage.
Right? Exactly. And it's like, okay, great. So finally now everybody's going to have to put a forum post up. And you know what? Nobody's doing it. The period started 2 weeks ago. 12 days ago was the opening of it. And my philosophy is always, if there's a reason and a hook for people to look at you in a campaign, then you need to take advantage of that as quickly as possible. So at least for the null block guys like Merkel Chen and the Nominate and everybody else, they can wait till the end because they're going to win anyway. They've got their block vote. Billy's the exception, like me. I consider myself a block guy, so I'm okay. But at the same time, I'm going to campaign because I like to campaign. It's what I do, and I want to get more votes than I want to get as many votes as I possibly can. I don't care who it is or how it is. I don't care if I'm on the Imperium ballot or I'm the top of a NITS ballot or I'm this ballot or that ballot. I want as many people to vote for me as possible. So I'm going to get out there in front as much as I can. But there are so many people that have told me and asked me and said, hey, I'm considering running. I'm going to run. I think I want to get in this race. And I give them advice, and I point into the article I wrote for INN and everything. And I'm waiting to see their camp forum posts, and there's nothing.
Just doesn't.
I mean, are they literally waiting for Monday, the last day, to get started? Because you just blew 12 days of stuff of people paying attention.
This is a really interesting point because
that drives me crazy.
There's a whole timeline to the CSM period, right? You've got the 27th of April to the 11th of May is your submission period, where you can put in your application and post your forum post up about, who you are, what you are, do your Reddit stuff, start doing your Reddit stuff and what out for you. And then you've got the application processing period. And that's another, 2.5 weeks or something?
It goes from the 11th until the 18th.
Right, to the 15th. And then the 18th of May is the candidate announcement. And then from the 18th to the 29th is the campaign period. But we're still hearing from people like Ubrisk, people like Villy, people who have been on the CSM or want to be on the CSM. I mean, there isn't a day goes by that meme candidate Zenuria isn't talking to people in the CSM Discord and trying to engage on some topic of some weird and potentially irrelevant nature, but he's out there doing it.
This requires alcohol.
No,
oh no, all right then.
Can I
Yeah,
see
these
the garbage
people may
can?
be waiting for the official campaign period.
Look at him. He's like, I don't know what to do. Hey, you're channeling a little Martin Mull there with the beard. I'm just pointing that out.
You think so?
A little bit, just a little bit. You gotta use your imagination a little bit. But I just,
there you go.
You sitting there just smiling. I'm like, it looks a little like Martin Mull.
I'll take it. But anyway, to Caleb's point, or to Dirk's point.
Whoa!
Sorry.
Whoa! Party foul! Party foul!
That's almost as bad as.
I am absolutely not Magni over here.
It's almost as bad as me me saying soft dragon.
Ooh, that's awesome. Ooh. Soft dragon.
I feel attacked.
Oh.
Yeah, chill out.
The point though is,
anyway,
I know it says on the forum, the campaign period is May 19th through The campaign period starts as soon as the application process starts, because that's when you can put your forum posts up, and that's where campaigning starts. So I feel like everybody that is not a block
people
candidate,
missing the point.
But it's like everybody who's not a block candidate needs to be out and raising their name ID as much as they possibly can for as long as a time as they possibly can. And they just killed 12 days not doing it because they're waiting till Monday, the last day, to put their paperwork in. That just drives me crazy. That's just my rant. It drives me crazy. I wish.
I think you're missing. I think you're misreading this a bit. Like, you're talking about how you've spoken to all these people, right? And you've pointed them at your article, and you've interacted with them and given them the benefit of all your advice, and a good part of your advice is, hey, as soon as the race frickin' starts, you need to be running. Well, maybe they've just all decided, you know what, Brisk's right, fuck this.
I mean, that's entirely possible. That's entirely that I was so persuasive in telling them what they needed to do that they said, this is a pain in the ass, I'm not doing it. I mean, that's entirely possible. Entirely possible.
If that's your attitude, though, to be fair, like, I'm glad that those individuals aren't running. If that is their attitude, because we don't need the representatives that aren't willing to go that extra mile for us.
And that's why I get frustrated, because player. And I will stop memeing for a second and be serious. I mean, be more serious. There are a lot of players out there who don't like the CSM, who think it's either too powerful and it's all filled with null blocks, and all they do is metagame CCP to their benefit at the exclusion of the rest of the game. And on the other side, you have the argument of CSM does nothing, they're useless, they're all a bunch of nobodies, they don't have any influence over CCP. CCP does whatever they want anyway, so it doesn't matter, just get rid of the thing. So there's this crisis and this belief out there. Go ahead.
I was just saying, and often both viewpoints come from the exact same people.
Yeah, which is funny. It's like, I mean, there's totally a Schrodinger's cat kind of thing going on with some of these people. It's so powerful, but it can't get anything done, and we don't care about it. I don't know. But in any event, there is this. I think there is always this view, at least, and has been since the very beginning. And given what has happened on various CSMs over time, there's always going to be this hardcore cynicism within the player base, and a player base that is, by definition, cynical about a lot of things.
Just to provide a wonderful example that could not have been timed better, Zulu Niner in Twitch chat. CSM is just a nightmare. They really don't do anything positive for the community, just their special interest groups. Honestly, if you do not think that the CSM has helped persuade CCP to stop some of the most awful game changes around in its tracks, and that is not positive for the overall community, you're a little bit delusional. And I'm just going to say that. I'm sorry, but you are.
I could give you a real life example here. Anger games, all of them.
Here we go.
I mean, I think the best example is Nom Nom's, like, work in actually reforming or basically getting the spotlight put on war decks. I think
Right.
that's probably the best example of a candidate going through multiple CSM tenures trying to get movement on this constantly and
On a
then
pretty
finally getting it
significant
done,
issue as well.
and it's got nothing to do with null set gameplay.
But the Zulu Niners point is not one that is unique to him. I hear that all the time. It's a common refrain out there in the community. The only way, in my opinion, that you get people to accept that the CSM is a representative body, that it's out there, that the representatives are out there doing more than just talking to their own friends or talking to their specific alliances or whoever got them elected. The best way to try to build up some kind of a public belief that this whole process is useful, because I think there is a benefit to it for the players, and there's a benefit to having the players believe that the CSM is helping them, as opposed to CCP, who definitely wants the CSM and they like it and they're going to keep it because it's their thing. They're not going to just bow to pressure and say, "Oh, we don't, players don't want it, so we don't need it." They need it. We're the cheapest focus group that they could possibly get. They'd be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the same kind of focus group testing that they get out of the CSM for some beer money and a flight to Iceland. So in the end, they're going to keep it. But I feel like the strength of the body and the strength of the people on the body and the ability of them to go and present cases to CCP and have the moral force behind the argument saying, look, this is what the players want. This is what the players think. You guys should look at this. It's much stronger if there's at least some kind of a belief that the CSM is actively acting on their behalf. And that only happens when the CSM members are active and talking to people. So I get frustrated when nobody campaigns. I want to see campaigns. That's part of the fun of doing this. Why else do this if you're not going to spend the time doing the fun stuff?
But your the way you're talking about it is a bit one-sided, because I think it's not only on the CSM candidates and on the final CSM members to engage with the community. The community has to engage with their CSM members as well. Like, how is the CSM supposed to know what the community thinks if you don't engage with them?
I agree. I absolutely agree. And that's why I go out of my way to try to be accessible. And I get a lot of crap from people for not being you're not a subject matter expert, or you're not an FC, you don't do this high level gaming, you're not an alliance leader, you're not a corporate CEO or any kind of stuff. I play the game every day, and I play the game from the perspective of a player that I think is pretty common across EVE. The nullsec line member is a pretty common character, and I do high sec mission running, and I do abyssal PvP and abyssal PvE and that type of stuff. Those are the types of things that I do, and I spend a lot of time in a game playing with my friends who do similar stuff. There are more people like me in EVE than there are the cap FCs for a giant alliance, or the EVE autocrats or the CEOs of big corporations. So having somebody that can at least represent an everyman's perspective on the CSM, I don't think is a bad thing. And while I get derided and some people will say, well, he's not a subject matter expert. You know what? I'd rather be a generalist and be able to have access to subject matter experts if I need them than be somebody who's like the king of one specific thing, but if they're not talking about that thing, doesn't know anything else that's going on in the game. And that's
and the other thing is
some people are like that.
Yeah, and the other thing is subject matter experts. Like, you don't know whether, if you're a subject matter expert in this particular area of the game, you don't know whether CCP is going to be looking at that part of the game to for the next year. I mean, in order to change, you can't affect what CCP is going to be looking at. Like, they'll look at what they want to look at. They'll prioritize how they want to prioritize. Maybe they'll see change moments, but they're rare.
See you later.
Before I go, just one thing about the CSM and the election stuff. And this is something that Brisk is aware of, that I have mentioned time and again on forum threads, and people start bitching about this stuff. If people in high sec want to not feel like it's all null block shit, then people in HiSec need to get themselves organized. They don't necessarily need to be building up massive alliances in HiSec, although at least one massive alliance in the game does not hold SOV and does a lot of stuff in HiSec. But they need to get themselves organized, at least on the level of a political campaign, network, talk to one another, get talking to other people in HiSec. Steve did it for years. Mike's done it for years. Mike is still confident that he will be able to go out there and get enough votes from HiSec that he'll get on the CSM this year. So, you know, there are enough people out there. They don't get involved with the community a lot, but that's because nobody from among them is reaching out in the mediums they work in, which is the in-game client. Work through local, work through the newbie help channels. Talk to people in-game and get them talking to one another. That's how you get this shit. And because if you never get HiSec talking to one another, you won't get HiSec people on the CSM.
Now, Best Spoon says, no way in a million years is HiSec people going to get organized. I don't agree with that. Because I'll tell you right now...
Steve's a fucking HiSec stalwart.
Steve did it, but Steve's an industrialist, and that's beyond just HiSec. Mike has gotten on the CSM before from HiSec. But I'll tell you, if you guys look at... there's one specific candidate out there that I think is going to surprise a lot of people. All right? Icarus Cesal is running for CSM. He is the Alliance Executor of
Silent
Coalition.
Yeah.
They have 20,000 members. They are the second largest alliance in the game. They are HiSec, non-SOV holding, non-structure holding, social alliance that was made possible by the changes that Anominate and me and others championed on CSM 13. I think he's got a legit chance of winning, just if he can just get a tenth of his alliance members who have Omega accounts to vote for him, then he's got a seat. You know, so I think at the end of the day, the whole idea that HiSec can't coordinate and that HiSec can't win a seat anymore, that might have been true in CSM 11 or 12 or maybe even 13. But once the changes were made that allowed these guys the tools to have the in-game ability to get together and not have to worry about getting bullied out of their corps and their alliances, I think there's a chance. I think if there's a guy who can do it, that's not Mike Azariah, because Mike is well known and famous. It's somebody like Icarus. So I keep an eye on him. I think he's somebody to watch.
Yeah, but all my alts in Silent are going to vote the Goon ticket. So
very God, so that's helpful. We'll see.
You're the cancer in this game that's killing it.
No, I have no alts in Silent. Just
you are literally the AIDS that is burning his alliance from the inside.
No. Yeah, I saw their rise to power, and I was watching that, and I was like, what the hell are they doing? Then I look in their kill board, and I'm like, oh, they're like fish food for everybody else in the game. So, what's the initiative? Seriously, Mikey? Mikey,
that is Eric's unfortunate spelling of the initiative.
Hold it. Where?
You spelled it in my name thing wrong.
I didn't spell your name thing.
Can I just suggest as well?
He's
got it wrong as well.
Hold it. Time out here.
They're both
McLeod. What alliance are you in?
How the hell did you manage that, McLeod?
McLeod's is wrong.
Hey,
come on.
Hey, at least both of them are wrong. At least I'm consistent, motherfucker.
Consistently incorrect.
But here's the funny thing. We all put him up there and nobody even knew.
It took an hour and 6 minutes.
Guys,
it took an hour and 6 minutes for someone to realize.
I'm officially requesting that we intentionally misspell Eric's Goonswarm Federation as well now.
Okay, yeah,
it has to be spelled wrong.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this is.
It'll be a new thing. It'll be another new thing for me.
From this point, no push-to-talk nameplate can be spelled correctly. Not even CCPs.
Yeah.
We'll just make them CCCP.
Goon Swam Coalition.
Gerswam. I like that, Strigak. Gerswarm.
But yeah, like to circle back to something else that happened that's actually related this week that Brisk kind of was roughly alluding to with his rather be an everyman that can consult subject matter experts than be a subject matter expert that's quiet when they're talking about anything else. One of the things that CCP did this week for their 17th birthday celebration was a live stream on, was it Thursday night? With with CCP Hilmar, CCP Convict, their new stream director CCP Fleabix, and Elise Randolph.
Elias.
No, it was well, I mean, I decided to call him Elsie. I decided to call him Elsie Randolph.
Elsie.
Elyse. I'm spelling that Elise, but
yeah,
He lies.
But
he lies.
I took inspiration. I'm going to say I took inspiration from that. I'm going to say I took inspiration from that for today.
Oh, is that where it came
I'd
from?
say that,
Yeah, that's right.
it's just artistic license, McLeod.
But yeah,
exactly.
I mean, they talked about a bunch of topics. They had an AMA in which, sorry, a fly was in my fucking face. Anyway,
well, you coughed. Did you swallow it? What happened? Really? I mean, was it protein?
I was in the middle of talking. It walked into my mouth. I coughed it out. All right, Eric, is that enough detail for you? Is that where you want to be?
Yeah.
It's getting fairly feral.
Now I wish you were on camera. Now I wish you were on camera.
But yeah, we had mention of the AT in which Hilmar suggested that he still wanted it to elevate Eve to the level of a sport with a straight face, which I thought was quite impressive, especially given that they were going to make no commitment to any sort of tournament thing.
Zero commitment right there and then.
I've been thinking on that. So
no commitment, but we still want to elevate Eve. But, one of the other things that was said was that there was going to be no major Sov rework before the end of the year, at the least. So we're now talking about one of the major aspects of the nullsec experience. There aren't very many groups there aren't very many groups that engage in nullsec in a purely NPC environment. And so, we're talking about an aspect where you may actually not see the null block candidates being as informed unless they are, as our friend Brisk here is, an everyman candidate that does a lot of other situations. And so these are some of the positive aspects of having more rounded candidates that I just wanted to bring up. When we hear these things from CCP, we can use that to kind of fuel our own assessments of the candidates that are out there and of what the candidates are saying about themselves. If somebody's going in to say, I hate FuzzySov, and half of my time on the CSM will be spent lobbying for a change to FuzzySov, and CCP don't want to touch that until the end of the year in any significant manner, that's half of their CSM term that's just going to be wasted.
You see, well, Doc puts up a good point in the chat, and that is that the focus this year is on the ecosystem, and I think that's completely correct. And I think that everything that CCP has indicated based on what they've been doing, all of the changes, a lot of the changes to EHP, a lot of the changes to mining anomalies, the changes to ship fittings, the balance changes, all of that has had a synergy with the ecosystem changes that they're trying to do, because they're trying to get the game to be in a position and a place where it's sustainable long term, that the wealth generation is not so off the chart that it is blowing up other aspects of gameplay, where things are stable, the economy's stable, and there's interconnectivity between all of the different sectors of space, and that there is some kind of a redistribution or some reason that gets conflict going because of people are looking for trying to fight over diminishing resources or limited resources. That's fair. So I think you need people on the CSM who recognize that and that are going to talk about different things that they can do. And that's one of the main reasons why, if you look on my website, I have my Brisk list, and a lot of that is meme stuff. It's stuff that people say, add this to your list, Brisk. All right, it's on the list. And then I
whoa,
Kind of
Brisk.
He has some important points. Oh yeah.
I have
Like,
serious
yes,
like
no
the
problem.
Angel Capital series.
I have it. But the top thing for me that I want to talk about, and I think that goes hand in hand with the ecosystem changes, is the content drivers. It's the conflict drivers in various areas of the game, not just nullsec, but everywhere else, that I think feeds into the ecosystem, because you want to have an ecosystem that creates conflict, and that's part of the key to it, because that's what makes the game fun. And it doesn't always have to be PvP, whether it's conflict, PvE conflict over how you generate wealth, if it's PvP conflict over how you control the means of generating wealth, whether it's market PvP between industrialists fighting over markets and who can control this area and who gets to make these sales and all that other kind of stuff. Conflict is the base of EVE. It's what EVE's about. And yes, it's nice. You can be Matterall. You can hop into your Leopard, or you can hop into your shuttle and go sit out and stare at the sun and say, "Wow, that's pretty," and everything. But in the end, somebody's got to make that for you, and somebody's going to fight over the resources that created that ship that you bought, that you can go out and stare at the sun. So in the end, there has to be conflict, and I hope that more people will focus on that, because I think that's going to be key to next year.
I think we should convert high sec and low sec to Sov holdable. That'll create a little conflict.
One of the things that kind of was sort of brought up by Hilmar in that live stream, but not kind of thing, is, you know, he went on about how, you know, CCP is trying to make sure that new players are sort of worth something to EVE. You know, he talked about you know, the value of labor, right? I don't know if you remember him saying this or not, but like, he talked about the value of labor when he was talking about new players in the live stream. One of the things he did not say a thing about, which I think is very much critical to the idea of value of labor, is the culture of alt accounts in EVE Online. You didn't say a thing about it. And the thing is, when you have a culture of, you know, it's easier to create an alt account and just like inject it to where I need it to be, then, you know, you look more to utilizing your alts rather than, you know, utilizing, you know, new players to be able to help you with that kind of stuff. And I just kind of find it awkward, and I find it like really aggravating that, like, you know, I know that injectors are a point of income for CCP, but, you know, they've gone through their purchasing or their you know, their buyout to Pearl Abyss. Like, they can kind of relax on the whole, you know, have to make sure that, like, you know, we're a positive income kind of company sort of thing. So
They still have to maintain that. And
well, they have to, but like not as much. That's what I'm saying.
So Varag's point in the chat is that's a choice more by you than CC. I agree with that. I mean, here's the thing: you don't need to have 10 Sino alts. All you need are 10 friends who are willing to light a Sino for you. So there are ways around having all of these extra things. There are. I do like the fact that skill injectors do give me the ability to diversify, and I can have a character on an account that's designed specifically to do a specific thing. Like, I have fax pilots that are designed, that their job is to be a fax pilot, or I have a Sino whose job is to be a recon or a hunter alt or something like that. That's never a bad. I don't think that's a bad thing, and I don't think it's necessary. There are people who can play the game at very high levels and have a single account if that's what they want. But I do think that the game does provide opportunities and ways for, if you're interested and you want to, you can go out there and get more than one account, and that is encouraged. I actually like that.
No, I'm not saying that
it was a big pain in the ass in other games where you have to use fake email addresses or new email addresses to make another account because you didn't want you doing it. We were playing them at the same time, but EVE just lets you get away with it.
The thing is, I'm not talking about like there shouldn't be no alt accounts in EVE. Like, I'm definitely understand that like alt accounts is a very, you know, fundamental thing. I have like at least 3 or 4 alt accounts myself, so I know the value of it. It's just the value of it should be, you know, slightly less comparatively to an actual like physical player, because like having that value, yeah, having that value as a new player should be more to both you and to CCP than an alt account. Like, in order to, because that's the idea. Like the bringing value to CCP via whichever account, whether it's a new account or an old account, like doesn't matter when it comes to CCP. Counting it via in their income sheet, but like that ability to take that new player and actually cement them into EVE Online is really important when it comes to providing them with an ability to play with other people. And if that's just being wasted by old accounts, then it's a wasted opportunity.
But
It's funny,
the thing is,
though,
I don't think it's wasted. I think that having the choice, having an ability for players to diversify and do other things, and provide a way for them to be. I mean, who wants to be in a game where you are 100% reliant on other people to be able to play the game the way that you want to play it?
No,
that's tough. At the same time, you're right. We do want to get new players in. So I think at least having the choice. And one of the things I like the best about EVE, and this has been said many times, but I'll say it because I think it's important to bring up in the context of this conversation. EVE is one of those games where a new pilot, like second day, third day, fourth day pilot, you can bring them in and put them in a ship that has value that can impact the game in very important ways. You can get somebody in ECM. You can get somebody in, a smaller ship that can do Logi or whatever. You can get somebody in a Deacon or a Thalia pretty quickly, and it doesn't require a lot of effort. And they can have an impact on the game on like their third day, like a week in. And that most of the games you don't. You got to level up. Well, if I don't have a level 60 character in WoW Classic, well, then I'm wasted because
basically useless. Yeah, I've experienced that myself.
That's why I like EVE, because you can come in even as a new guy and immediately have an impact on the game in a larger sense, and that's good. But I think the alt thing, some people are going to take it to extremes, And I see Arnie is saying we should have a limit on how many people you can have online at a time. I think the only limit should be your PC capability. So I don't want to tell somebody like Omeka, if he wants to go out and multi-box 80 ships at the same time, hey, you know what? That's 80 targets in space that I can go after. I'm not going to complain about it.
It's
funny. Have a fleet of 80 people.
There's a thing. There's a kind of real quickly, Soft. There's also there can be a physical limit to this, and it's in terms of like the things that you can do passively, right? Like there's a lot of things in the game that you can do passively that you can scale like almost infinitely, right?
Right.
And the way that you can kind of reduce this is those particular actions or those particular roles having like actions per minute, right? Like at least a base actions per minute requirement in some way, shape, or form. I'm not talking about like just clicking in space randomly. Like the task requires some amount of actions per minute. But yeah, like that's a way that you could kind of start to reduce that. But anyway, so what were you going to say?
I was going to say it's funny that there are people here saying, "Oh, we should limit how many accounts you can have online at a time." Meanwhile, CCP is pushing FCs to have like at least 3 characters online when they do their job.
I mean, that's the hard part. Like, if you're an FC, you almost invariably have to have at least one scanning alt ahead of you that's doing stuff, and then your main character in a really brick tank ship so that you don't get headshot. And then maybe you have another scout out there too. Pando loses a scout. Like, we know it's going to be a good fleet when Pando's losing a scout immediately, because that means that the guys are out fighting and they're coming after him, and we know where we're going. So it's kind of like blood for the blood god whenever he dies. But it puts a lot of pressure on the FC, even when they have a team of people that are helping. They still have to have multiple accounts anyway. That's why I mean playing this game at a high level, it takes a lot of skill, and that's one of the things I think people like about it.
But the problem is, CCP kind of forced FCs into that, because of the way fleets work, the limited spots of warp spots. Like, you can have a fleet commander and a wing commander who can warp your fleet around, and if you have more than one squad, that you have 2 people who can warp your fleet around. right? That's already limiting you. The way probing works and the way warping from a prober works, kind of forces you to have the FC or someone very, very close to the FC, to do that. Right?
Yeah, there are very few people that I would ever trust in a fleet or wing command position in a fleet that I was running. And I mean, Brisk, you were talking about the number of alts an FC has at any one time. At various points, when I mean, I've not FC'd on a really serious level in a number of months now, but when I was doing that, you know, there were times when I'd have a Titan Bridger that I was running. I'd have a primary FC character that was brick tanked. I'd have a secondary FC character that was brick tanked, and I'd be running at least 2 extra scouts.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing, and that,
you know,
that's
that just scales
just based on the way the game is. You know, you can't not. I mean, the idea of any large scale fleet commander going out with just one account that's just not going to happen. It's not how they do it. You know, and you can have. I mean, you'll have 4 or 5 or 6 people in command comms that are relaying information and that are helping with sinos and Titan bridges and wormhole connections and all that kind of stuff. But it still takes, that person doing multiple things at the same time while giving orders to a group of 100 people, telling them what to do. So I give the FCs credit, and I mean, that's fun. I joke that I'm an FC now because when we're structure bashing, Dark Shines will send me off and give me a crew of people, and I'll go and ref another structure while we're in the same system. So I'm an FC. I FC the fleet, you know. But I just laugh because you think about it. It's really hard. It's hard for these guys to do what they do at that level, and I give them a lot of credit for it. But that's not the only way to play the game. And there are plenty of people in high sec with one account that are having a good time and don't need or want to have more than one account. There are guys like Dunk who have multiple accounts because you absolutely cannot play the industry side of the game with one account. It just doesn't work. You know, there's just no way to do it. So I think having that option is available is good. But the thing about EVE that is so good, and one of the reasons why I think it has lasted 17 years and why I keep playing it, is it provides you with so many choices, and the choices are all meaningful. It's not like deciding between a red skin and a white skin, or a black skin or a green skin on your character that does the same damage. There's so many different things you get to decide and choose, and that, I think, makes the game more fun. So having that option and being able to say, hey, I want to have 5 accounts running at the same time, I think that's cool, and it's not something that you see very often in other games, even MMO. So that's one of the things that I think sets us apart, and that's why I like it. So I wouldn't want to change anything like that. But I do recognize that there are other ways to play than the way I play, or the way Omeka plays, or the way Dunk plays. And we should be willing, and that's one of the things I think of a good CSM is you need to listen and hear all of these different play styles, and then at least go out and try to represent them, even if it's not something that you do.
Awkward silence. Nobody has anything to say. That's unusual for this crew.
That's it.
I'm kind of like replying to people in chat. That's one of the things.
Because I'm talking too much, so I got to get off my soapbox. Let you guys.
Actually, no. I mean,
That's all good. It's all good, man.
It's all good talk about EVE, and it's all interesting perspectives, right? And you know, I mean, that's one thing we all share here is our perspective on the game, and that's what's important. You know,
That is true.
that is true.
I mean, you already stole my weekly talking point of lack of conflict drive.
There you go. Well,
Hey, we all won.
Because it's true. I
We
mean, that's
all
the
want
thing,
a
it's
reason to
true.
go back to war.
Yeah,
Everyone wants a reason to go back to war, like proper war, proper.
We
you know,
figured that out
everyone-
last week.
There's a lot of various different things and a lot of various different aspects of this game that, you know, makes conflict drivers more or less attractive.
I just
Because there's areas of the game that still exist that could be conflict drivers. You know, it's just that, you know, the mechanics that, you know, that basically revolve around them are just bad to the point where they discourage. Like they basically discourage people
100%.
from wanting to actually do that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So, you know,
I think
you have to tackle those. You can't just that's the thing with conflict drivers. You can't deal with one thing in isolation in this game. Like everything's connected. You have to look at it from an ecosystem standpoint, which is why I'm
And that's important. And that's
actually
what I feel
glad about Rotati.
Exactly. I think that's. I'm happy that they're doing that now, because everybody needs to recognize that the ecosystem is not just about the economy. It's not just about ISK generation or wealth creation or whatever you want to call it. It has it touches on everything, because it has an impact on everything. How fast things blow up has an impact on how much you could charge for something, and how much, how many minerals it takes and is being withdrawn from the environment because it got blown up and stuff like that. And everything's connected. Everything is and I remember the butterfly effect video that they did. It's a perfect example of that, because that's how this is in Eve. And I think having them focus on that and recognize that that's important is good, and I give CCP credit for that. And I think, at least in terms of conflict drivers, one of the things that I'm going to bring up, and I brought up on CSM 13, and I'll bring it up until they fix it, I think Citadels are a huge conflict denier. I don't like a lot of the things that they've added in to Citadels to make them too strong. I thought the Citadel changes that were getting rolled out is going to be great when it finally happens on the 24th of May. But I think there's still some room, and hopefully that'll fix some of the issues, but there's still some room to fix some of that stuff. We just had almost very close to $1 trillion fight in nullsec between.
Let's not call it dollars.
Trillion ISK fight. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. $1 million battle. Trillion ISK fight in nullsec between Horde and those guys, PanFam on one side and Imperium on the other, and it was over a POS. And it wasn't even a POS. It was on like an R64 moon. It was just a POS that they were using.
It's just a POS that had a Titan at some point.
Yeah, it was just a bridging Titan POS thing. That's straight out of 2016, 2015 content. Pre-Citadel. Where you stick your Titan and your casket alt, because that's the only place that you can stick them in. That's
Citadel.
Back when we had,
how far back did you have to go to get
everywhere?
How far back did you have to go?
Talking about stuff that
2016.
But this is the thing. Talking about stuff that discourages people from actively going at it, right? Like that pause. You come in, you attack it, right? You reinforce it, fairly fast. You can reinforce pauses fairly fast. I maybe a little bit too fast, at times, but fairly fast, right? And then the next day when that timer goes down, or maybe maximum was one day 18 hours if I remember right, but the next time that comes out, that's a kill if you do things correctly. You don't have to be like, oh, another reinforcement, right?
And the other thing as well,
so it's one of one of those things that you can go in, you can be decisive about an action that that you're willing to take.
And there's just to say this again, and there's counterplay to pauses. You can have a fleet bashing a pause, and then you can drop a couple of faxes, or even the old posprees.
Right. You can
these old things, and you can rep the pause, and you can have people shooting at your posprees, or you can have the people who are shooting the pause shooting at your fleet that are defending it. And once you get it back up a certain percentage, it's not even you have to rep it back to full. Once you get it back up over 50%, whack some more Stronta in it. And then even if they hit the pause again after beating your fleet, they've got a whole new reinforcement time to deal with. And there was this counterplay and back and forth that we could engage in, and we just lost that with Citadels.
Even better,
Varag says, are Citadels too safe? Yes, they are.
Yes.
But it's not just because of asset safety. I mean, it's not just about the stuff that's in them. Tether is too strong. Citadels in general, like a Fortizar and Keepstars, are too defendable. The PDS is just it kills too many small ships, so it limits the types of vessels that you can bring or the ranges that you can get into. That limits the fleet types that you can bring in. They nerfed Boosh Ravens, so there was your one way of killing a Keepstar with a subcap fleet. That's gone. Mm-hmm. So Keepstars in general, the Doomsday and other side, it's very easy to defend these structures. And they're on grid and they are such a huge force multiplier that nobody fights unless they absolutely have to. Nobody fights on a grid with a structure. It's just, why would you do that? You know, the old days of bubble camping and hell camping in somebody in a station or dead ending somebody in a station, it's gone because you can't do that with the way the citadels are. So I think there's things they need to do to fix it.
Just have you tried keeping a bubble on a citadel? It's basically impossible.
You can't.
The last time we successfully managed to hell camp a citadel, I believe, was Judgment Day, when we owned the citadel that we were hell camp.
Right, exactly.
Like,
that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, if you got a bad guy in the gunner seat in that structure, you're gonna have a bad time. That's just the way it is. You know, and maybe not Astra houses or Raytaros or some of the smaller ones, but anything that can fit a PDS or a Doomsday, you're going to have a hard time.
By the way, Varrock, making it easier to knock them over is not going to help. Removing asset safety, on the other hand, you got to understand the problem with them. It's not that they are impossible to kill. It's just a lot of effort for no return. The no return is the problem there.
Mm.
I mean, that's a really good point. I even just the other day, I think it was maybe Monday or Tuesday, I saw a kill mail for a POS ship maintenance array, that had a fully fitted Nyx in it that was killed by a single Orthrus and dropped the Nyx.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like I mean, it's you don't see it.
That's your payout for an hour's grinding on an SMA and an Orthrus.
Even more time than that, dude, because like you're scouring like the depths of like
how long did it take to find
like
it?
How long did how long did it take to find? Like it's just ridiculous. Like
I'm not saying that they didn't have all of that. I'm just saying that even just the time on grid, there was a payout for that guy. Never mind the hunting, never mind the prep work. And you've got to remember that there's hunting and prep work every time we invade a region. You know, we're always having people out looking for pauses and citadels. We were trying to figure out what these citadels are fitted with. So there's a bunch of lead time on an invasion or a major conflict that a lot of people don't hear about. And you have to see some sort of return on that. It's just fair play. If people put the effort in, they should get something back.
And it can't just be a good fight or a kill mail. I mean, usually it would be nice to have something more than that. Now, granted, for me, I like kill mails. If I know if it's a structure bash and it gets pinged out and it's the armor timer, I might get there. If it's the hull timer, I'm on that because I want the kill mail because I like kill mails. But you know, when it comes to other stuff, at the end of the day, citadels don't drive conflict, I think, the way that they were intended to, because I think they're too powerful, and I think they're too much of a conflict denier. And in the end, why do you blow them up to begin with? You blow them up because they're in your space in an area that you don't want the other guys to have a staging in. That's the number one reason. Mm-hmm. Two, you're going into an area and you want to clean it out. You don't want any of those structures there, so you have to go through that. That's another reason. Third reason, maybe you're trying to provoke a fight, so you go in there and you set up some timers, and hopefully they'll respond to you. But even then, that's a hope for the next day, or 3 days down the road, or a week down the road, depending on where you are. I mean, maybe that's, hey, you know, at least I have an excuse to log in 3 days. But it's not the instant gratification that folks want, because most of the time, if there's an active big fleet on the grid, you're not going to form because you know you don't have to. Why would I waste my time? I'll take the fight when it's on my terms. Well, I can get ready for it. So go ahead and ref it. It doesn't impact.
And that's another big thing as well.
I just wanted to really quickly, dude. But like, you know, from what you were saying previously, you know, like, you know, having this payday, having this kind of, you know, this payout for finding something like a POS that's offline that has a extra large ship maintenance array around it. Like, when that payout opportunity exists, there are people who are perfectly willing to go out and see if there's that opportunity around in some space that they may know. And when you have those people out there, you have the ability to interdict those people as well. So it
Right.
breeds, it creates more opportunities for, meaningful gameplay. Anyway, so
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, Brisk's point leads us back into one of the other major differences that doesn't get talked about necessarily enough between Citadels and POSs. Even if you're just looking for a kill, right? If somebody doesn't defend a Citadel, it takes you a week at least in K-space to kill a Citadel.
yeah, if it's fueled and everything.
That's gonna even if it's not fueled, it takes that long because you've got to wait for the whole timer to kick in. Well, sorry, not a week, but like 4 days at minimum, right? In POS days, your maximum your maximum reinforcement timer was what? 36, 40 hours?
Oh, yeah.
You'd reinforce it. You'd reinforce it on a Friday, and if things were unlucky, you'd have a fight late in your time zone on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Potentially just outside of your time zone, and you'd shrug and go, okay, let's move on to the next pot, and we'll see what that's about. But not only do we have the defensive capabilities of Citadels that far outweigh POSs, we have the sheer amount of time that you're waiting. And that's just not engaging. You want to set things up for a weekend of fun. If you had this weekend in the UK is bank holiday weekend. A lot of people not at work yesterday. A lot of people not at work today. A lot of people not at work tomorrow. People could be playing on the Friday afternoon and stay up late on the Saturday. And so they could have that setup and that fun over a relatively short period of time. That just doesn't happen with Citadels.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, I never thought of it in that perspective before. But yeah, we used to set up fights for the weekend, right? And then we'd all pile on. That'd be great. Yeah.
And there's always this issue when it comes to like development of a game, right? Like when you're developing a game, do you cater to, those player types that are, like no lifers that are always on, or do you look at, in encouraging or basically sort of allowing people who, don't really have the free time during the week to be able to have meaningful gameplay, through the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it, and I guess we've always danced around actually saying it, but I'm going to actually say it, right? CCP always seems like, okay, gameplay, nerf, not nerf, what am I going to do, rebalance, all this stuff. And there doesn't seem to be, at least from my perspective, a focus on what we're talking about right now. The player, right? What do people do, right? There's no focus on people behavior. Right?
Oh, there's a lot of focus at CCP on people's behavior, but
think so.
But whether or not
players.
With this sob system, there was focus on and the mechanics and Citadels. You think?
But this is the thing, Eric. Like, I think there's a lot of focus on player behavior in terms of their metrics. This is where CCP pull a lot of things from before they even start talking to the players. And I want to refer back to a presentation that CCP Ghost made at Amsterdam 2019. So that was more than a year ago. CCP Ghost made an absolutely fantastic presentation that nobody saw coming about the actual player experience and the way the community interacts. So, the out of game interactions of our community. But what he didn't really talk about too much was the in-game methodologies of these player communities. And I think this is where CCP kind of differentiates a little. They see the game as this massive community builder, and they talk about the way we all interact outside of the game, and this is true. I mean, I talk to a bunch of the INN guys every Thursday night for a couple of hours at least. And we chat about EVE stuff, but we also chat about our own lives, what's going on, what we're doing. In this channel, before a push-to-talk show, we chat about our real lives. We talk about things that have happened. We vent a little bit. I vented a little bit today about something that happened at work that was just a bit annoying. But when it comes to CCP talking about the in-game community and the way the in-game communities used to play compared to now, I don't think they're really comparing our qualitative experiences with their actual server-side data.
Well, you can't, right? And that's where they're not behaviorally focused. Like, so if you want somebody to engage in your game, when you put things in there, it has to have one quality. It has to have value to the person who wants to use it. And they don't look at their changes as what value does this bring to the player. They look at it as how does it help us manage the game.
I think you guys are not giving CCP enough credit here. I think the fact is that they have somebody like Ghost on the staff in general means that I think that they do care about the external community and how players interact as players in the game. I think the other thing is part of this is they're trying to put stuff in that's fun. They want players to have fun, and I think that's part of what it is. For those of us, this is our hobby. This is a part of our lives. It's part of your personality and who you are. You're an EVE player. That is not the case for other games. Like, my son doesn't walk around. I mean, I'd say, yeah, what games do you play? Well, I'm an EVE Online player. That's my main game. Everybody else, my kid says, what games do you like? Well, I like Fortnite. I like Minecraft. I like Overwatch. I like to play these types of games. I like first-person shooter games. But they don't say, like, all right, this is what I do. This is my game. This is my hobby. And they don't spend the kind of money that we spend on computers designed specifically to play EVE, or gaming rigs, or multiple camera setups, or multiple screen setups, that type of stuff. The investment that those of us who have been bit by the EVE bug make is pretty significant, and you don't see that on other games. So I think that CCP is smart in having folks on staff like Ghost who recognize and look at this from a sociological perspective, not just from a game development. All right, what's cool? How can we milk these guys for the most money that we can have, kind of thing. And I also give them credit for this whole EVE Infinity or EVE Forever type thing. They want the game to last forever and never get shut down. And I think not every community has the benefit of a publisher who's willing to do that. That a lot of those guys, they don't care. They want it. All right, what's the life cycle of this game? It's not forever.
So those are some really good points. For sure.
I just want to interject here real quick and go in with some relatively breaking news here on Push to Talk for once, which is absolutely incredible. I don't understand what is going on.
Do we have a scene for this?
This is Olmeca Gold officially stating on Reddit that he is not running for CSM 15 and is winning EVE for the foreseeable future.
No, I am not running
Quitting
for CSM
EVE.
15.
Olmeca Gold not running for CSM 15 and quitting EVE for the foreseeable future. He's going to be... He's doing this, according to his Reddit post, for some really serious reasons, and I want to applaud him for taking the time to focus on his degree and his future prospects. And he says in his Reddit post as well that there's a chance that he'll become a father during the CSM 15 tenure, and he wants to focus on that instead. I applaud him on
totally
all of those
understand.
fronts.
Yeah, I totally understand. As
absolutely fantastic, but
I am so pissed off right now. I wanted to run against Olmeca. I wanted to run against Olmeca so bad. I wanted to get more votes than him just to say that I did it. And
maybe this is all.
By the way, you will.
God damn it!
You've been outmeted. You've been outmeted, Brisk.
He did it again.
So Brisk, what you're saying?
Totally outmeted.
You wanted to get more votes than Olmeca has accounts.
Well, that would be hard. I'd have to do that.
That would be difficult.
Look, I give Olmeca a hard time. I give him a very hard time. I tease him a lot, but I'll tell you, I met him and his wife in Vegas. We had beers together. She's a lovely lady. He's a good guy. I disagree with him on a ton of stuff, and I poke fun at him all the time. But that's just the nature. If I like somebody, that I'm going to give them a hard time. I'm sad to see that he's not going to run again. Whether he would win or not, I don't care. I wanted to run against him. I thought that would be a fun race. I'm sad that he's not going to be there. But he did tell me, and he has said in the past that he's looking to start a family, and that was a potential thing. So real life is real life, and that has to take precedence. So,
I can't believe
he's in the right place to be able to do this. So I give him credit for knowing his limitations. So
yeah, and there's a saying that goes around, and I'm fairly certain it goes around in many different circles in Eve. But real life first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
all right, so I'm making out. I'm not going to run anymore because I can't run against Omega. Fuck this.
He's out.
He's out. You.
There's no reason to run.
Right. You
just
do not.
Kidding.
Brisk.
Just kidding.
Wait, Brisk.
Wait. Seth, Brisk is not allowed to drop out because he's the only candidate endorsed by Push to Talk.
There you go.
We will be burned by this.
There you go. You're at the top of my list.
Did you really think you had a choice anymore, Brisk?
I know, right?
We will write your name in, goddammit.
But I want to touch up on something Brisk said. You said that you believe CCP wants us to have fun, but the problem I see for a long time now, the game design they've been doing speaks against that. And what I mean by that is the way they are handling the meta. They are constantly nerfing things instead of buffing things. And,
you have to...
that is, like, a nerf is not a fun thing. It doesn't matter if the ship you're nerfing is completely overpowered. A nerf is never a fun thing. Because all of a sudden,
you have to watch out.
like...
I said the same thing, and I agree with what you're saying. I think I would rather buff everything else instead of nerfing something. But at the same time, I get the feeling it's much easier to tweak one thing that you think is broken than to plus up everything else around.
Well, and that's
and you have to watch out for power creep.
That is the basic problem, right? And Rourke is the primary case that I used to explain that, right? They started out up here instead of starting down here. Start down here.
Well, they started out down here, and then they got buffed to up here.
Yeah.
And now they're bringing it back down to like here. The problem is that the CSM flat out said, guys, if you change the ships the way that you're doing it, this is what's going to happen. And they did it anyway.
It happened.
Right.
Yeah, and then what they said.
But their answer in that conversation was, "We'll just nerf it."
Right, and that's the thing. And I understand the whole idea that nerfs are not fun, and I agree with that. But I feel like they're not doing it because they don't want you to have fun. They're doing it because they feel like they made a mistake and they need to dial it back. So
but can you imagine
future of the game?
But can you imagine Eve if
they hadn't made
if because if we're going on the on the premise that you can't nerf things, you can only buff things, right? If CCP, when CCP buffed raw calls, could you have imagined how terrible Eve would have been, if they were like, oh well, we can't nerf raw calls, so we're going to have to buff everything up to up to where
again,
it would be insane and it would be ridiculous.
McLeod,
it would be inflationary. You'd have the
exactly.
Is that Soth wasn't saying that nerfs are a negative thing overall, or that nerfs should not happen. What he's saying is that perpetual nerfing, as in the situation of the Rorqual, is an overall negative environment, and this
I get that.
It's not just that.
You just have to watch out for power creep. That's the thing that's the issue with nerfing and buffing.
McLeod, there are ships in dire need of a buff, right? Just just look at half of the command ship, if not even more than half of the command ships.
More than
Like anything but the Vulture and the Damnation are kind of not viable for 95% of
For
gameplay.
what they're kind of designed for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I get that.
Look at all of the T3s, right? Look at Tech 1 battleships. I mean,
well, yeah, T1 battleships have always been an issue. Yeah.
And this was actually part of my argument when it came to super capitals. And I mean, I've gone on record on this show. I've gone on record on INN articles that I've written or co-written. You know, I am very much of the opinion, kill super capitals. However, you can't kill super capitals because if you kill super capitals, you kill a lot of the impetus for players who have been using super capitals and building up to super capitals as this end game goal to continue playing. And I don't want to see that. I really don't. So this was the point I was making years ago. What we needed to do was nerf super capitals into the ground, and over the course of, you know, between 4 and 6 months, super capitals needed a series of buffs to bring them back into line. An actual timeline from CCP of, okay, we know that your super capitals are not viable at the moment. We know you don't want to undock them, but we're going to address caps in this 2 months, and then we're going to address the position of super carriers and what we want to see them do in the next 2 months, and then we want to address Titans in the next 2 months. And that sort of situation where you go one big hammer, but then rebuild them in the way you want to see them would have been far better than the tiny little Titan nerf this, Titan nerf that, super carrier nerf that, Dreadnought nerf that kind of way that we've seen this happen, and this super capital situation evolve where they're trying to build roles for these super capitals without killing their effectiveness in the meantime. And it just feels like a lot of those times, as Sarthasor was pointing out, we're seeing nerf after nerf after nerf without seeing much of a rebuild, because they're nerfing it into the position they want to see it rather than buffing it back up. And this loops back to the sociological aspect of the players and the way they play the game. If CCP were watching that, CCP may have taken more of that, hit them once hard and rebuild them slowly, than nerf them slowly to kind of give that psychological aspect to it. And I wonder if that's a thing that we maybe should ask CCP at some point.
It's also like when you just read through the patch notes, it's always we nerf this. It's like 4 or 5 points of nerfs and maybe 1 point of a buff for a ship. And oftentimes the buff isn't really a buff. What I would like to see is that it's at least equal, right? So that you have as many things to look forward to. Like, oh, I can fly this ship now again. I love to fly that ship. It's great that it's getting viable again because it's getting a buff. That makes you get over that your favorite ship, the Munin, is getting nerfed into the ground again.
The Munin is nerfed, but hey, actually, the Drake got a rapid light bonus, so
and the
Drakes could be fun again. That kind of
thing
deal.
is, the Munin
Please
nerf,
don't fly Drakes.
or the hack nerf in general, wouldn't have been needed if they had simply buffed Tech 1 BS.
Well, the Munin needed enough anyway, but I see your point. Anyway, as has been pointed out, we are getting on for 2 hours.
Yep.
And we will have a fireside, as Brisk confirmed for us earlier, in 4 or 5 minutes. So
Yep, we gotta run.
Yeah, let's Brisk.
Final thing?
Wait. Yeah, one final thing. Let's leave Brisk for last.
Only Brisk gives the
Go
final
ahead.
thing.
All right.
Only Brisk gets final thing?
Yeah,
That's cool.
let's get out of here.
Yeah.
All right. So I
Put 'em on
just want to say thanks, guys, for having me on. As always, I appreciate your support. I had a good time on the show, and like I said, I'm sad that Olmeca's not running again because I wanted to run against him. But you know, in the end, it's not a huge deal. And I do appreciate the fact that he, in the end of his post, he did get a chance to try to shit on me a little bit. So that's nice. At least I know he still cares. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the support. I hope you'll turn out and vote. If you're on the Imperium ballot, you're in the Imperium, vote the way the state tells you. If you're not in the Imperium, then vote for me. Thanks again. I'll be on here whenever you guys need. So watch the Meta Show in an hour.
Oh, yeah.
In an hour. See you all at the fireside. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate all the follows, all the subs, and everything. Even though we didn't kind of get to them this week, we're sorry.
Yeah, we apologize.
We do apologize. And we are going to be out of here as soon as I find the button to push. How about that?
We appreciate you.
You appreciate our viewers?
Viewers,
We appreciate
subs,
everyone.
followers, all that.
All right.
We even appreciate Sothersil for all he yells at us.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't. All right. Later, folks.